Good morning. Symbols tell a story. They are a way to communicate complex meanings without lengthy explanations. We are celebrating our country's independence this weekend, and we often use a symbol to show that. What is that symbol? An American flag. What does it communicate? It communicates a different story to different people, but to me it communicates liberty, freedom, and patriotism. But there's another major symbol right over here, and that is the cross. The cross is the major symbol for Christianity and communicates victory, peace, and hope. But there is another similar image in Christianity that is more popular in some traditions while neglected in others, and that is the symbol of the crucifix. The crucifix is an image of the cross, but with Jesus nailed to it. Well, what story does it tell? What story or what does it communicate? To me, it tells me of a God who chooses to suffer. Now, I know most of you have gone through worse, but recently I went through a couple of days of, let's just say, being uncomfortable. As I knew it would be uncomfortable, I wanted to redeem the experience, to try and find some purpose in it. So I asked God to help me learn more about myself and to learn more about Him through it. What I learned about myself is that I'm not as strong mentally as I'd like to think. But what I learned about God is how incredible it is that He would willingly enter creation to experience suffering, even the suffering of a crucifixion. Now, Christians really believe this. What Paul says is a stumbling block to the Jews and foolishness to Gentiles is at the foundation of Christianity, that God willingly experienced crucifixion. If this is true about God, this should change everything. Just as we have experiences that alter our lives forever, we can't look upon a crucifix and believe that is God and stay the same. You know, people will endure suffering for a cause they consider greater than the pain of suffering, but only in the greatest acts of love are they willing to give their lives and die. The Apostle Paul says about this, he says, "Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." Well, why did God do this? Well, it was out of love for us. But what does this mean that God chooses to suffer? Well, pain has a way of bringing isolation to an individual. It becomes all you can focus on, and you are unable to participate in the normal ways of life. And if you're like me, you don't want to go through difficult experiences in life feeling like you are alone. But because God became one of us and endured some of the worst suffering known to humanity, we are assured that we are not alone in our suffering. We do not have a God that is aloof to the pain and suffering we experience in life, as if He is sitting on His throne so high above us that our cries of despair don't reach Him. No, we have a God who knows what suffering is like, and not from some divine, all-knowing perspective. No, He knows what suffering is like because He personally went through it, and His body still bears the marks. Recently, Briley has become scared of the dark, and it's brought back memories of the same fears of my childhood. It's also reminded me of how every time I woke up in the night as a kid and was scared of being alone, how every time I yelled out, my dad would come to be with me. I can't imagine, knowing that there will be fear and suffering ahead of me in life, that I would have to go through it alone. But it gives me thankfulness and hope that God has gone ahead of me into His own suffering and came out the other side, and therefore can shepherd me through my suffering. But if you're also like me, it's sometimes hard to have the truths of Christianity not just be words, but to be real, to feel real in real life. But I would encourage us all that if we are feeling distant from God in our suffering, look at an image of a crucifix. Sit, focus, and ponder on the image. Consider how that is God upon that cross. And then consider how he endured such suffering for us. As we take communion today, we must remember that the elements we are partaking in were not freely produced. As Jesus said about this meal, his body would have to be broken and his blood poured out. May God help us recognize that what we'll be holding in our hands today are the fruits of a God who suffered and a God who will be with us in our suffering. Amen.